William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
The trouble with murder as an occupation, folks, is that it doesn't last very long. In no time at all, you come to a dead end.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. An investigator's license costs only a few bucks. When you're starting in the business, you've got ambition. So you have the license put under glass and framed. You spend a couple of hours deciding on the best place to hang it. Then you find out all you've done is bought yourself a front seat for the back stairs. But you also find out an awful lot of people use the back stairs. It's open.
Craig?
Yeah.
You alone?
They're a mice. They're tame, though.
I wonder if you're the man I'm looking for, Craig.
You'll have to figure that out by yourself.
It says confidential investigator on your door.
I had that put on myself. Maybe I was boasting.
Small place. What's this door?
Leads to the back stairs.
Yes?
You want to look under the desk, too?
I have to be careful. How much money do you make a month?
Not enough to have my clothes made by your tailor.
I think perhaps you'll do.
Thanks.
This is what you'll work with.
An envelope?
Take a look inside.
All right. Money.
Count it.
Uh-huh. 5,000.
Yes. I want you to buy a necklace for me, Craig.
For $5,000.
That's right.
You got any preferences in necklaces?
A girl named Wendy Harper has the one I want. She lives at the Beecham Towers Hotel.
Maybe she's got more than one.
Oh, no. The necklace is pearl. You buy it from her, turn it over to me, and collect $500.
You don't like the Beecham Towers Hotel?
Oh, what's that got to do with
You
it?
could go over there, buy the necklace yourself, and save my fee.
I could also be sued for divorce.
Meaning you can't afford to be seen with her. Fair enough.
I'd like a receipt for the $5,000.
Sure. Received from... From?
You don't need that.
How will I get in touch with him?
I'll phone you.
Okay. Your receipt.
Thanks. I suggest you begin work at once.
Right. One thing.
Yes?
Suppose she doesn't want to sell.
She'll sell.
You're sure the necklace is worth $5,000?
Yes, I should be. I gave it to her.
I congratulated myself cautiously. A case a week like this, and I could start getting my clothes tailored, too. I locked the office door. Who knows? Word might get around I was a man people handed $5,000 to. It would give the entire building, all three moldering stories of it, class. Burglars might start dropping in. Oh, hello, Jake.
Hey, Mr. Craig.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm going down.
Don't rush it. The elevator's got to have time to rest.
After the long pull?
Yeah. Got to rest your horse at the end of a furrow, you know.
Jake, forget about that farm in Vermont, will you? You're in the big city now.
I'd rather have a horse. If you was in such a hurry, why didn't you walk down?
Too proud. I've just moved into the upper income brackets.
That so?
Thanks. By the way, Jake, did you notice the man you took down from my floor a couple of minutes ago?
No.
Had your nose buried in the farmer's almanac?
I didn't take nobody down.
Oh. Well, that was my client.
Who was?
The man you didn't take down. I don't suppose you took him up either.
No?
Used the stairs both times. The back stairs, Jake.
Yeah?
When was the last time those back stairs were swept?
I don't know. I only been here 6 months.
Yeah.
Mr. Craig,
What?
must get kind of lonely up there on the third floor.
Sort of. Why?
Oh, just wondering. You sure you had a client?
I smiled at Jake. I could feel the fat envelope in my pocket. $5,000 carries a lot of conviction.
Good afternoon, sir.
Miss Harper.
She expecting you?
Phone up to her, and she will be.
Yes, sir. The name?
Craig.
One moment, sir. Miss Harper, there's a gentleman here to see you, Mr. Craig. Yes, of course, Miss Harper. 407. Miss Harper's expecting you.
Thanks. The Beecham Towers was a lot nicer looking than the building on 23rd. But then I didn't use the back stairs. Miss Harper, I figured, was leaving it all up to me. 407 was a suite. You walked past the small foyer before you hit the living room. It was a nice living room. The furniture was modern and bright. There was a wrong note, though. Miss Wendy Harper. She was on the couch. She looked modern and bright, too. The wrong note? She happened to be dead. Her eyes were open. For a minute, I had the impression they were looking at me. I couldn't decide if they liked what they saw, or if they were looking over my shoulder, the way I should have looked.
Open up in there. Open up.
Yeah. Oh, all right. All right. A little late, friend. What do you want?
I'm Clancy, the house detective.
Good for you.
Now, you're in my way.
You're not coming in.
Now, listen. The old lady in the next suite heard a woman screaming from here.
When?
A few minutes ago.
She needs new batteries for a hearing aid. What time is it?
7:30.
Nobody screamed in here for at least a couple of hours.
Where's Miss Harper?
She's in.
I want to talk to her.
You're going to be disappointed. Miss Harper's in no mood for conversation.
I'd like her to tell me that.
Lots of things we'd like just never happen.
Hey, what's the idea?
You want to get in here? Take my advice. Call a cop.
Hey.
I slammed the door shut in Clancy's face. Clancy was guessing. He wasn't sure. Maybe I was just a boyfriend with a temper. He'd stand around and wonder what to do for a while before trying to come into the room again. That gave me time enough to go through the suite, make sure it was empty, make sure Miss Harper was still dead. She was. They don't come alive very often. And then check on a pearl necklace. There wasn't one around. I hadn't figured there would be. By that time, I was in a hurry. This time, I was the one for the back stairs. I was picking up time with every step I took. But time for what? The back door led to an alley. I had ash cans for company. A man named Nothing, whom no one had seen, for a client, and a crude frame-up for murder as a future. I had no optimism about my chances for playing tag with the homicide squad. The cops had a name for me. I had no name for the man who'd sent me to visit a dead girl. No name, no lead, nothing but a hope that whoever had set up the deal would be too impatient to wait for the morning papers. Up the street, the Marines were coming. I said goodbye to the alley before they could land, made the other side of the street, and waited. The hotel was on a quiet street. No crowds. Nobody watched the cops pour into the hotel. Nobody but me and a small man pretending he was part of a doorway down the street. The last cop went into the hotel, and the small man abandoned the doorway. He didn't know it, but he had me for company. It was easy. The small man wasn't worrying. According to the general idea, I was being interviewed by a dozen cops at the moment. He led me across town with no trouble. The address was 5413 East 79th Street. The house was old. The ivy on its walls was probably hand-picked. The small man used the servant's entrance. I decided to be formal. A brass plate under the doorbell read John Peter Kendall. I thought he'd be surprised to see me on his doorstep. I was surprised.
Yes,
Mrs. Kendall?
I'm Mrs. Kendall.
Good.
I beg your...
You're excused. Better shut the door.
Are you a salesman?
Not exactly.
Well, you're big enough, heavens knows, but you don't look very dangerous. So?
Thank you. Mr. Kendall home?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I guess it is a pretty large house.
It is. Also, John and I don't get on very well together. So why am I telling you this?
Maybe because I look reliable and a little stupid.
That's silly. It's not very hospitable keeping you out here in the hall.
It's not.
But I intend to continue doing it unless you can give me a reason. For your being here, I mean.
I do insurance work.
Oh?
Your husband hired me to trace some property of his.
Well, he must have been very anxious about it if he asked you to come here at this hour.
He was anxious.
Strange.
Why?
Dear John has so much property.
Oh, this was something special.
And confidential?
It used to be.
What does that mean?
Lost any pearl necklaces recently, Mrs. Kendall?
Why, yes, I did.
That's what he wanted me to trace.
Oh. Please come with me, Mr.
Jones.
Jones. Wait here a moment.
All right.
Mr. Jones,
Yes?
this is the necklace I lost.
It looked like $5,000, too. Mrs. Kendall, her price tag wasn't showing.
Well, Mr. Jones,
When did you get it back?
John brought it to me, perhaps an hour ago.
An hour ago? Then he is home.
He said he might go out for a stroll. I didn't try to translate. A stroll in John's peculiar vocabulary could mean almost anything.
You asked him where he got the necklace?
No. I assumed he'd hired someone like you to find it for him. Mr. Jones,
Yes?
what are you really after?
Will you see if your husband's home, please?
All right. Mr. Jones,
What?
are you sure you're doing something for my husband, not to him?
She didn't wait for an answer. It was very still in the Kendall home. I wondered how well Kendall had covered his relationship to Wendy Harper. Pretty well, I thought. There were no cops around. Mrs. Kendall was taking a long time. Too long a time. Mrs. Kendall! Mrs. Kendall!
I'm here.
Where's the light?
No, he might shoot again. Never mind. It's gone. The light switch, the wall to your left.
Okay.
Oh, frightful. So frightful.
Shh. What?
I was talking to Max. He's our handyman. I'd asked him about John.
That's Max over there?
Yes. Max started to tell me something about... Oh, it's crazy. About a hotel. When John opened the door, he'd been listening. He had a gun. It was dreadful. Dreadful.
Here, sit down. I'll have to take a look at Max.
All right. I don't know. He'd been there or seen something. He was staring at me as though he were terrified. And then the door opened behind him. I could see John's face. And after that, the shots came.
You'll have to phone the police. Yeah, I can't stay. I've got a date. Mrs. Kendall, where would your husband go if he didn't want to be found?
John? I don't know. I don't know.
You must know. A man as wealthy as he is.
Well, he's got a place on the Sound. It's only a shack, sort of a boathouse.
What's the address?
Riverview Road, right off the parkway.
I'll find it. You'll be all right. The police will...
Mr. Jones, why was Max shot?
Why? My benefit, mostly.
Your benefit?
Yeah, his death moves me right out of the chair.
I don't understand.
You don't have to, for right now. I've got an errand to run, to convey thanks and make a payment.
Hey, Bud.
Yeah?
Kind of late to be driving out to the Sound, ain't it?
You mind?
Nah, I don't mind. As long as you got the fare.
I've got the fare.
Only reason I brung it up is, not many cars going out this way this time of night.
Yeah, I guess so.
So the car behind us must be tailing us.
Car behind.
Yeah. Been there last half an hour. It's got one headlight weaker than the other, kind of stuck in my mind.
Don't worry about it.
I don't want no trouble.
There won't be any for you.
Riverview Road, Bud. That the shack up ahead?
Yeah. The other car.
Didn't swing around a bend. Was with us up until then.
Nice. How much do I owe you?
Couple of bucks.
Here you are.
Thanks. How about me hanging around for a while?
No, it might discourage my friend.
The guy on your tail?
Uh-huh. Good night.
Come on.
Who's that?
Craig, Barrie Craig. Recognize the name, Mr. Kendall?
What do you want?
Hard talking through a door.
Don't try anything, Craig.
You don't need that gun.
Let's not agree about that.
It's cold out here.
Come in. Slowly.
Thanks.
Over there at the table. Sit down.
Okay.
Put both hands on the table, please.
Everybody knows all the angles nowadays, except maybe me.
Why did you come out here?
I had a report to make.
Report?
Sure, don't you remember? You hired me.
Oh, well,
Funny thing. 9 times out of 10, people who hire me don't expect me to believe them or to carry out their orders exactly the way they gave them. They're always working on an angle.
What's so funny about that?
I always believe my clients. I do my best to carry out their orders the way they say they want them to be. That gets me into more trouble.
You're wasting time.
And you don't have much time left?
You said you had a report to make.
Sorry. That necklace you hired me to get.
Well?
It's back in your wife's possession.
You gave it to her?
No, you did.
It's a little late for jokes.
No jokes. You can check with your wife. Not only that, Mr. Kendall, the whole deal worked out a lot cheaper than you expected.
What do you mean?
$5,000 is a lot of money. One girl's life, a lot cheaper.
You've still got the money?
Yeah.
Now, don't reach.
Stop being so nervous. I was just getting this. $5,000.
And Wendy?
What do you think?
Well, I don't understand what you mean.
He's had time enough to get here, so I'd better get rid of this light. Your gun, Kendall. I'll need it. Don't move around, Kendall. It's dark in here. Our mystery man outside hasn't got artillery, only a revolver. We're safe for right now.
Well, I don't know what's happening.
Shut up. He's moving around, waiting. We can wait, too.
Yes, but for what?
He's got to make up his mind if we're dead or not. He'll have to check. Till then, let's chat, huh? A man comes into my office, hands me $5,000, instructs me to buy a pearl necklace from a girl in a hotel.
Well, I don't...
It's my story. The guy uses the back stairs, doesn't leave his name. I take the dough, get to the hotel, walk into the girl's suite, and get knocked out. The girl is dead.
Yes, but I
You
didn't...
keep interrupting. I wake up to find the old lady next door has heard a woman scream and yelled for the house dick. He's at the door. He's supposed to walk in, find the dead girl, and me with $5,000 in cash on me. He calls homicide. I tell my story to them. How do you think they go for it?
I don't know. I don't...
Don't overdo it. It's plain enough. My client is a work of the imagination, they say. I knocked the girl off for a dough. Very simple and very pretty.
Well, then who is that outside?
When I got to the hotel, I had to be announced. The clerk called upstairs. He held a conversation with Miss Harper. He told me she said it was okay to go on up. But Wendy Harper was already dead.
Well, then...
Shh. Junior's making his bid. Okay, drop it.
What?
I said drop it, Junior. You got the moonlight behind you?
No.
I don't like it, but... Oh! Is that a match, Kendall?
Yes, I have.
Let's have a light then, huh?
Oh, all right.
Over here. Yeah, the hotel clerk. He's registered his last guest, dead. John Peter Kendall didn't have any comments to make. He stared at the dead clerk as though he'd never seen a corpse before. Maybe he hadn't. He was my client, wasn't he? Let's get out of here.
Yes, but what about him?
He's dead.
Well, isn't there something we should do?
There's nothing you do about the dead.
I mean, he was killed.
Yeah?
Well, the police?
You're in the clear on this particular death. What are you worrying about?
I suppose you know better than I.
Also, I've got the gun, so...
All right.
Yeah. The clerk's car is out here. How about yours?
I came here by cab.
That can be checked.
I still say I came here by cab.
Okay, we'll borrow the car. Hold it. That's on this road.
The police.
Sounds like them. Of course, they could be on their way to a ball. Would you like to stay and chat with them?
No, there are too many things, and I'm confused.
Where's Riverview Road lead?
To the city.
I mean the other way.
Well, it sort of peters out about a half mile from here.
No good. We'd take one look at the corpse and come after us. With the road a dead end only a half mile away, we'd be finished. Come on.
Well, we could drive toward the city.
You think they'd let us pass if they're heading here? Forget it. We'll leave the car where it is. Who planted these trees?
I had them put there.
Oh, good for you. You should have planted them a little more thickly, however. We get in among them. This ought to be good enough.
Well, any search would...
Find us? Sure. But maybe... Uh-oh, here they come. A squad car and a taxi. Yeah, the cab I came out in. The driver spotted the clerk tailing me. He must have hung around down the road and heard the shots, then went back to town and collected police. They've checked the car. Empty. Now for the house. In a half dozen seconds, they'll be popping out of there looking for us. Come on. Maybe we can make the cab. The driver left it out in the road proper.
What good does that do? The squad car...
Don't worry about that. Get into the cab and start it.
All right.
Me, I'm going to be nasty to a tire. Yeah. Get going. Fine.
Well, what did you do?
Screw the tire valve open on the squad car. The clerk's car is blocked off, so they'll have to change the tire. Maybe we'll have enough time.
The police won't like it.
How very true. You know, Mr. Kendall, I'm in trouble. Not only am I wanted for murder, but now for committing a nuisance on police property. I was glad we weren't close enough to hear the cops discuss their flat tire. I think their language would have been frightful. Hey, take it easy, Mr. Kendall. We don't want a ticket, too.
We're almost back in the city. Where do you want to go?
Home and sleep, but not just yet.
Well, then...
Let's make it your home, huh?
My home?
The mansion you and your wife play hide and seek in, except both of you seem to be hiding rather than seeking.
If you don't mind, I could do without your wit.
So could I if I had any. Mr. Kendall.
Yes?
The whole thing started with a necklace, a pearl necklace.
That's right.
You didn't bother telling me it had belonged to your wife before you passed it on to Wendy Harper.
It hadn't belonged to my wife.
And why all the anxiety about getting it back?
Well, she found out about it through the jeweler where I bought it. I had to pretend I'd gotten it for her as a surprise.
That meant you had to get it back from Wendy. It would have looked bad in a divorce case. And Wendy wouldn't part, except for $5,000.
That's right. Do we have to?
We do. Come on. Better not ring. Your handyman wouldn't answer.
Max?
He's dead, too.
What?
Use your key.
Why, I can't take much more of this.
There won't be much more. Go on. Hello, Mrs. Kendall.
Mr. Jones. And John.
You started to say Mr. Craig.
What?
The name is Craig. Where are the cops?
About Max.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't phoned them yet. I was ill after you left. Terribly ill. I still don't feel right.
That hotel clerk doesn't feel right either.
What hotel clerk? You sound like Max.
The one who sent me up to Wendy Harper's room. The one who had a conversation with Wendy Harper after she was dead.
This is all completely...
Isn't it?
John, what's happening? Why are you staring at me like that?
He doesn't love you anymore.
Oh, you...
No. Let's keep it genteel. Kendall?
Yes?
Call some cops, huh?
Police?
Yeah. They want to take Max to the morgue. Max, who led me to your wife and died for it. And even more, they'll want your wife. had been a long evening. I'd stayed ahead of homicide for a while, but they always catch up.
Craig,
Lieutenant Trav Rogers.
give me one good reason why your license shouldn't be revoked.
Mrs. Joanne Kendall.
I said a good reason.
What else could I have done, Trav?
You're not trying to tell me you were afraid of the frame.
I never tried to tell a lieutenant of homicide anything. No, I wasn't. But I had a job to do. I got it done, too.
You could have been killed in the process.
Oh, there's a law against that.
Oh. Craig, we got the whole thing laid out. The Kendall woman moved in on what looked like a perfect opportunity to get rid of Wendy Harper, frame you for the killing, and have a club over her husband's head for the rest of his life. Because he'd hired you, all she had to do was threaten to tell us about that, and he'd be tied in. Well, where did you get the bright idea it was Mrs. Kendall who set you up and not her husband?
Clancy, the house dick at the Beecham Towers.
Huh?
He came up and told me an old lady had heard a woman scream a couple of minutes before I regained consciousness. The Harper girl had been dead for hours then.
So it had to be Mrs. Kendall screaming. To get Clancy up and you arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Buy me a beer.
Well, we'll go out and have beers, but what makes you think it's going to be on me?
You just made $500, remember?
Holy smokes.
What now?
I forgot to collect. Good night, folks. See you next week.
You have been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, The Case of the Naughty Necklace, was written by Lou Vittes. Next week, it's the strange story of paper bullets, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week, folks, I find out that words can be bullets when two prize-winning authors do their literary best to prove the gun is mightier than the pen. See you next week, folks.
Featured in the role of Mrs. Kendall was Barbara Weeks. Barrie Craig, starring William Gargan, was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Now enjoy Meredith Wilson's Music Room on NBC.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
The old saying, early to rise, folks, can't possibly mean a thing to a corpse.
Your Pontiac dealer presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. The trick in continuing on as a confidential investigator is to keep on good terms with the police. Comes time for your license renewal, and a department sawhead can louse it up for you. Play footsie with a corpse, conceal evidence, rack up as many black marks as you must, but be sure you've got a friend somewhere in the higher echelons. High, say, like a lieutenant, willing to countersign your renewal application, where it reads character references.
Ah, the fool that I am, Craig, endorsing your application.
Your signature goes down here, Trav. No blotting now. Right neat.
Certifying you as a man of good character. However will I atone for the perjury?
The guilt get too much for you, I can refer you to a high bridge.
Okay, I've signed. You're free to harass and otherwise misuse and abuse me for 12 more months.
I'm looking forward to it, chum. I'd start in right away if I had a case.
Oh, don't tell me the great man's idle.
1 meal away from pawning my badge, unless you've got an idea.
I get the hint. Even if I could, why should I throw anything your way?
Because you hate seeing me fall dead from hunger. So what case did you have in mind?
2 cases. You even have a choice. Both of them prefer a confidential operative to official police methods, official notoriety. I was asked to recommend someone.
I'm all ears.
Case 1. A Mrs. Cora Talbot wants help in finding her husband, Stanley Talbot. Talbot's been missing more than 6 years.
What's her motive in looking for him now?
Oh, a last-ditch search. She's about lost hope that he'll ever return. She wants to petition to have him declared legally dead so she can remarry. Interesting?
How big a fee?
$20 a day and expenses.
Kind of anemic.
It's all the lady can afford. Is it no?
What's my alternative?
A publisher named Hilary Grayson. He ran a best first novel contest, $50,000 to the winner.
And?
The prize-winning manuscript was stolen, very mysteriously.
What's it worth to Grayson to get the manuscript back?
A flat $2,000. So, which of the two has you seething with a desire to see justice done?
Well, I don't want to be mercenary.
Then you'll accept Mrs. Cora Talbot. I'll call and tell her.
Call and tell publisher Grayson. It's not on account of the higher tab. The fact is, I've been a long time wanting to raise my cultural level. The publisher Grayson had more body than any one guy needed. 3 sets of jowls and thick eyeglasses. Looking into his eyes was like watching fish in an aquarium bowl.
Get that manuscript back, Mr. Craig. Spare no effort or expense. If the manuscript isn't recovered, I'll be the jackass of the publishing world.
Hold on a minute, Grayson. You're forgetting I don't know what it's all about. I just got here.
Yes. I suppose I should give you the facts.
It would be helpful.
The prize-winning book manuscript, The Cry of the Hyena, by Eric Trent, was stolen right out of my office.
That's bad?
Catastrophic. It was the only copy in existence. The author has no carbon duplicate.
How come? Writers usually make copies.
Usual writers usually do. But this is no usual writer. This is Eric Trent. Here's his photograph.
I get what you mean by this one not being usual. Does he always wear chin whiskers?
Yes. Trent's a brilliant eccentric. A man who's roamed every corner of the world. A wanderer who wrote 1 page here, another page there. 6 years in the writing and more than 1,000 pages.
And no carbon. First prize was $50,000?
Yes.
Were there other awards?
One other. $5,000, a second prize.
One by?
Oscar Sachs for his novel, 4 Devils and a Midget. Oh, this is a photograph of Oscar Sachs.
Well, this one's clean-shaven. Can I talk out of turn, or are you the sensitive type?
Ask me whatever you like.
$55,000 in prize money. Isn't that a lot of cabbage for a
small publisher?
Your offices haven't exactly got that mahogany and chromium look.
The prize money doesn't really come from me.
It doesn't?
An independent motion picture company, Pyramid Pictures. They pay the prizes in exchange for world rights to film the book. Any more questions?
Yes. How many offices are there in this suite?
6. Why do you ask that?
I'm already in there pitching for you. That intercommunications box on your desk. Is every office equipped with one?
Yes, of course, but I don't...
The box is switched on, as you'll notice. It's been on through this whole talk we've just had. Who in the Grayson Publishing House would be interested in long-range eavesdropping?
I don't know.
Suppose I find out. But I didn't find out. The eavesdropper resented my curiosity with all his might. An inkwell pitched at me.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you driven a great new 1952 Pontiac? Until you do, you cannot possibly appreciate what Pontiac's dual-range performance really means. Only with your own hands on the wheel, your own foot on the accelerator of a Pontiac, can you know what it means to select with a flick of a finger exactly the power you want. Tremendous get-up-and-go in traffic, or smooth, easy-going, gas-saving cruising on the open road. The great new Pontiac gives you this kind of performance because Pontiac has, for the first time, combined the three essentials of top-flight performance in one great car. First, a terrific high-compression Pontiac engine. Second, the wonderful new General Motors dual-range hydromatic drive. Third, Pontiac's new high-performance economy axle. It's this great powertrain which makes dual-range performance, giving you exactly the power you want, when you want it, where you want it. Remember, only the new Pontiac has dual-range performance. Only your Pontiac dealer can show you this engineering masterpiece. Before you consider any new car, be sure you visit your nearest Pontiac dealer. See the new Pontiac. Drive it yourself. You won't be very many miles down the road before you heartily agree that dollar for dollar, you can't beat a Pontiac. And now back to Barrie Craig.
My eyes opened on Grayson, sprinkling water on me with a sponge.
You're all right.
Quit watering me. I'm not a petunia bed.
But you were unconscious.
I'm conscious now, and you're ruining my suit.
It's ruined anyhow, the ink from the inkwell.
Don't tell me. Red ink yet. My fee's gone up, Grayson.
Up?
$2,000 plus $49.75, the price of this suit. A while later, on the street outside the Grayson offices, a motorist tooted me over. A long-hair driving a sky blue-pink jalopy. I let him pick me up. You paging me, friend?
Yes, I'd like to talk to you.
What about?
If you'll get in, we can go somewhere. I'll buy you a drink.
Oh, buttermilk. There's a buttermilk bar over on 8th Avenue. In the buttermilk bar, we had a chat for the books.
I'm Oscar Sachs.
I know that. I saw the photograph of you in the Grayson publishing offices.
Oh? Well, there's some facts about the book contest I think you should know.
Why?
Why? You've been engaged by Mr. Grayson to locate Trent's missing manuscript.
What am I wearing, a sandwich sign?
I obtained the information through sources I cannot disclose.
Give me those facts.
I won the second prize of $5,000, but I was cheated.
Cheated out of the big money, is it?
Yes.
Explain, please.
The contest rules clearly specified that the award was to be made only to an American author.
And?
I have reason to believe Eric Trent is an Englishman, or anyhow other than an American. To put it bluntly, a fake who should be disqualified.
Disqualified while you're moved up to first place and $50,000?
Yes.
Let's have your bill of particulars.
Well, for one thing, Trent's way of talk. It's as English as the House of Parliament. Another thing, Trent was somewhere overseas on a tramp island, an English possession, when he sent the manuscript in.
That summarizes it?
Well, there's more. Trent has a tattoo on his right arm. I happened to get a good look at it. It's a tattoo of the British flag. Would an American wear the British flag on his arm?
They tell me Benedict Arnold did. You're really out to grab yourself 50 G's.
Well, why do you find that so odd, Craig?
Just that I thought artists had no money sense.
Well, I have, and I'm not apologizing for it.
Okay, I've got your point of view, Oscar. Oh, yes, one little thing remains. Hold out your hands.
Hold out
Do
my...
what Papa asks. Red ink smudges on your right thumb. You've been playing with inkwells, Sonny.
Well, Craig, I didn't mean...
Don't apologize. Fun's fun. And I like to play myself. My interest runs to sugar bowls.
Oh, Craig, no! No! Oh.
Eric Trent's address, furnished me by Grayson, was a rickety studio walk-up. 7th Heaven in Bohemia, Greenwich Village. The door opened on a blonde who eyed you as if she was already counting your money.
Hiya.
Hello. This is 6D, isn't it?
That's what it says on the door.
It's my astigmatism. Is Eric Trent in?
No, but I am.
Baby, I'm not a gentleman caller.
So who's tough luck, would you call it? Come in. Trent said for you to wait if you simply had to see him.
Trent expected me?
Yes. That Mr. Grayson, the publisher, he phoned and said you might be over. You're Barrie Craig, the detective, he said.
Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
I'm Judy. Judy Joy. Well, come on in. I won't bite you.
I was waiting for you to make that promise.
I live right next door in 6E. I come in here to play the radio. Mine's out of order.
Oh.
That's Bummy Fiegelspan's orchestra you're heaaring.
Oh.
It's on every day this hour.
Mm-hmm.
I get simply dilapidated if I miss hearing Bummy.
Come again. Did you say dilapidated?
Yeah. Dilapidated, like frazzled. You know, fractured. Or were you correcting me on the words?
Oh, no.
Eric's always correcting me on the words. Imagine me keeping company with a real live author type.
Sure I can. I can even imagine 50,000 reasons.
Huh? What'd you say? Oh, there's Eric now. Eric?
Ah, Judy.
On the sofa's Barrie Craig, the investigator. I've been keeping him here for you.
Thank you, Judy. Now, if you'll leave us alone.
Sure. I got a slip to press anyhow. Nice meeting you, Mr. Craig.
I was floored myself.
Excuse me while I shut off the musical background. Now, Mr. Craig, the object of this visit?
Your stolen brainchild. What else?
But what can I do about it? I submitted it in good order. I'm not responsible for its disappearance.
How come only one copy? Why didn't you type up a carbon duplicate?
I have no patience with purely clerical details. I'm an artist.
But the full risk of losing the one copy.
I'm a man who takes risks, Craig. In my years abroad, away from America, I've lived a life of risks.
Skip the personal build-up.
Wherever I went, I traveled lightly. Suit on my back, pipe tobacco, and a pencil. It was enough of a nuisance carting one copy of 1,000 pages around. And how was I to know my confounded book would ever get to a publisher, much less win a prize?
Okay for that. What's your guess on the missing manuscript?
Grayson.
What motive?
A stunt. Grayson intends exploiting this whole affair for all the publicity he can wring out of it.
It's an angle. The 50,000, would you say you won it legitimately?
Legitimately?
I mean, what if you were to be disqualified as the first prize winner, say on a technicality?
What technicality?
Not actually being of American origin, as the contest rules specify.
But I am an American.
With a British accent?
I spent years in the islands, in Jamaica and British Somaliland.
I'm told you have a tattoo of the British flag on your right arm.
So? Well, I sailed the 7 seas, and like a sailor, I had myself decorated with tattoos.
But the British flag on an American citizen.
Ah, wait until I open my shirt. There. Are you looking at the tattoo on my chest, Mr. Craig?
Yeah, the American eagle. What do you know? Expand your chest, genius.
Expand my...
I want to see old Baldy flap his wings. The first break in the case developed over the phone. I was in my office, soaking my feet. Barrie Craig speaking.
Craig, this is Grayson.
What gives?
It's about the stolen manuscript. Listen carefully.
Shoot.
A hoodlum named Mike Kelsey got in touch with me. He admitted to stealing the manuscript.
Why did he?
A mistake, he says. He was under the impression that it was valuable. A rare manuscript.
Believe that.
He wants to return it now and no questions asked.
How much loot is he after?
$1,000.
It's paying ransom, compounding a felony.
I must have the manuscript back, Craig. I told him to negotiate the transfer through you. You're representing me in the matter.
Where's the 1,000?
I'm sending the money over to you in cash by messenger. You're to meet this Mike Kelsey in a tavern. The Flying Horse. Craig, be discreet.
Sure, I'll be discreet. The cash came by messenger, okay. And I got to negotiate in the Flying Horse Tavern. A mug with heavy artillery bulging his coat, waiting at a table for me. You Mike Kelsey?
No, I'm, McGuire. I'm here for Mike. Hey, you're negotiating for Grayson, so I'm here negotiating for Mike Kelsey. Now, let's negotiate without any monkey business, Craig.
Why a gun under both armpits, Buster?
So as I don't develop a stoop on one side?
Oh.
Now, here's your manuscript. Right in the wrapping Mike Kelsey found it in. Now count me out a fast grand.
Here, $1,000. Count it yourself.
Yeah, it seems okay. Don't be stupid enough to stop me from leaving.
The publisher, Grayson, was out. Would I please call later, a secretary told me. I'd gone back to my office to cool my heels for a while when the phone rang. Barrie Craig speaking.
Craig, this is Oscar Sachs.
Now what's your beef?
Craig, I've discovered something I think you'll want to know.
Something that will promote you into the 50 Gs?
Something that won't help Eric Trent any. Craig, the man's a fraud.
You're playing a cracked record, Junior.
Am I? Come hear me out and then tell me that.
All right, I'll come hear you out. As soon as I dry my feet and rustle up a change of socks. I didn't get to hear Sachs out. To achieve that, I'd first have to perfect a way of communicating with the dead. I left Oscar Sachs as I found him, sprawled backwards over a writer's desk, a knife standing vertically in his Adam's apple. I left him as is, so Lieutenant Trav Rogers wouldn't howl to heaven and the DA that I'd once more tampered with a corpse. Grayson drooled with joy supreme over the recovered manuscript.
This is a load off my mind, Craig. A big load.
But it solves nothing. Who stole it and why? And why was Sachs murdered between the time he phoned me and the time I got to his flat? I'll show you the manuscript, Grayson, and then I've got a question. Here. Examine it and then tell me. Is this the same manuscript that was stolen?
The same? Why, sure it is. The Cry of the Hyena by Eric Trent.
Examine the manuscript, not just the title page. Study a few sample pages.
Yeah. It's the same.
You'll swear to that?
On a stack? No. No, I won't swear.
You've detected something? Some changes?
Yes. I think yes. For one thing, this copy is cleaner. The edges of the pages aren't so ragged from handling.
As you remember them to have been?
Yes, even the title page looks altered now. I remember a burn here in the upper right corner near the author's name. A burn like from an accidental cigarette ash.
I'm convinced. This isn't the copy that was stolen.
But what can it mean?
I aim to find out. Grayson.
Yes?
Phone Eric Trent. Get him to come here to your office on some pretext.
But why?
So I can have the run of his studio without Trent being the wiser or being present. Eric Trent had all the accumulated junk of a guy with a passion for changing climates. Souvenirs from Bombay, the Dutch Indies, Labrador. Souvenirs in brass, carved ivory, porcelain. And in the bottom bureau drawer, a manuscript. The Cry of the Hyena, with a cigarette burn on the title page. Eric Trent had stolen his own manuscript. I had the evidence in hand, but keeping it wasn't going to be so simple. A lady was against it. A lady healed with a gun twice the size of her dainty lotioned hand. Miss Judy Joy.
Yes, Mr. Craig. It's Judy Joy.
Through the convenient connecting door?
I heard noises in here, and I made it just in time to catch a burglar. Drop that manuscript.
You charm me into it. Want a word of advice, beautiful?
No.
I thought you would. Ring off Eric Trent as fast as you can flick your glamorous eyebrows.
You're crazy.
Being true to Trent's an awful waste of war paint. Now...
What are you trying to tell me?
That Trent's value on the hoof has just been slashed by about $50,000.
He won't get the money?
Neither will you get the money.
You're a liar.
A Dutch uncle. I'd hate to see you dragging your gorgeous chassis up the river Sundays, visiting ye author in the big house.
Pour me a drink.
Still making with the gun?
Aimed at your head while we wait for Eric. The stuff's on that coffee table there. The soda bottle's right alongside it.
Okay, I'll play bartender. Say when.
When?
How much soda?
Just a squirt. That's enough.
Spot more, huh? Just enough to dampen your spirits? Had enough?
She's no good. Roll down.
We held an all-night session, me, Lieutenant Trav Rogers, and Grayson, comparing the two manuscripts page for page. It was early dawn before I found a discrepancy between the two versions.
You found something, Craig?
Yes, Trav. Cora Lane's disappeared from the substituted version.
Who's Cora Lane?
Tell him, Grayson.
Cora Lane is a character who appears early in the novel. A woman the hero meets and falls in love with.
She's in version 1. She's out of version 2.
Now, why would the author go to all the trouble he did, submitting a manuscript and then stealing it back just to write a character out of the book?
Because the name Cora Lane means something. Something he didn't want found out.
Means what?
Cora Lane was a character, say, drawn from real life. She's a real name, a real person somewhere.
Excuse me, Mr. Craig. They're saying that Trent only realized it when it was almost too late to make the change.
One thing's pretty clear to me, Grayson. Eric Trent didn't write the book. Somebody else did.
Who would you say did write the book, Craig?
The hero of the story is my guess. Stanley Fields. Only that name is probably an invention, or Eric Trent would have changed it. It figures. The book is an autobiographic work. A man's true personal history disguised as fiction.
The personal history of someone Trent stole the manuscript from.
Someone now dead, or Trent would never have dared to try for the big prize. Trav?
Yes.
Arrest Eric Trent. Book him for the murder of Oscar Sachs.
You're sure?
Sachs tumbled to some of the truth, and Trent shut him up. Trent was also behind the Mike Kelsey red herring. That was a trick to throw dust in our eyes. Arrest Trent, Lieutenant. And when that little chore's over, check police files and directories for a Cora Lane. Go to it, Trav. On this one, I'm making you a gift to the headlines.
Ladies and gentlemen, when a great reporter wants to get the inside story of a great new car, he gives it a thorough test run. That's exactly what John Daly did with the new Pontiac. Here he is to tell you some of the outstanding facts of the new 1952 Pontiac and its spectacular dual-range performance.
This is John Daly to tell you about a great advancement in automobile performance. The great new 1952 Pontiac with spectacular new dual-range performance. A number of factors contribute to this sensational new kind of driving. Pontiac has combined a powerful high-compression engine, new dual-range hydromatic drive, and high-performance economy axle into an amazing powertrain that gives you tailor-made performance. At the touch of a finger, you can have tremendous acceleration and get up and go for any occasion. With equal ease, you can choose a different type of performance, quiet, economical cruising for the open road. Drive the new 1952 Pontiac with dual-range performance on display at your Pontiac dealer now. It's spectacular new proof that dollar for dollar you can't beat a Pontiac.
The great new 1952 Pontiac with dual-range performance is on display now at your nearest Pontiac dealer. See it. Drive it as soon as you can. And now, back to Barrie Craig.
It took 2 days for Trav to get back to me. When he did, he had a lady with him. A gray lady with haunted eyes.
This is Cora Lane, Craig. Cora Lane, Barrie Craig.
Mr. Craig.
How do you do? How did you find her, Trav?
Police files. The name of Cora Lane appeared on an old record card. She reported her husband missing some years back.
Stanley, my husband. He left one morning, never returned. I was frightened. I imagined him injured, a traffic victim. I didn't know then that my husband had planned to just disappear, that he couldn't live in my world, that he had so much wanderlust.
Her husband was the Stanley in the book. The author of it, as you theorized, Craig.
Your husband was a writer?
Yes, a writer all through him. Foolish, wild, irresponsible, and wonderful, too. Is he dead?
Tell her, child.
Yes, he's dead.
Oh.
According to Eric Trent's confession, your husband died of a tropical disease somewhere in the Pacific. Eric Trent was a drifter your late husband had taken up with. An odd thing, Craig.
What odd thing?
I offered you one of two cases the other day.
Why bring that up now?
You took one, but you solved both.
What?
Cora Lane is the maiden name of Mrs. Stanley Talbot. Mrs. Cora Talbot.
Not the $20 a day in expenses deal I passed up.
Yes. As it turned out, you found her missing husband.
A gray lady, Trav, and all-around loser.
Her life hasn't been good.
Her life needs fixing. Mrs. Talbot?
Yes, Mr. Craig.
We're taking a ride, you and me.
A ride?
Cross town. You've been poor, but now you're rich. That book of your husband's, The Cry of the Hyena, there's $50,000 coming to you. And I'm going to stand over Grayson while he makes out that check. Good night, folks. See you next week.
You have been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, The Paper Bullets, was written by John Robert. Next week, it's the strange story of Death and the Purple Cow, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
Next week, I lose a client before I get him. A man dies in a hamburger joint, and a purple cow turns out to be neither a cow nor purple. See you next week, folks.
Featured in the role of Judy was Barbara Weeks. Barrie Craig, starring William Gargan, was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Now enjoy Meredith Wilson's Music Room on NBC.